Hello and welcome to This Week in Big Sky Football. I'm your host, Carl Hunt, and today our guests include Montana State head coach Jeff Choate, UC Davis defensive back Devin and Stats Craig Haley. Let's take a look back at some highlights from this past weekend. Eastern Washington defeated Lindenwood 59-31. Idaho beat Central Washington 41-31. UC Davis won at San Diego 38-35. Portland State topped Simon Fraser 70-7. Weber State beat Cal Poly 41-24. Montana State knocked off top 25 opponent Southeast Missouri State 38-17. And Montana bested North Alabama 61-17. The Big Sky is taking over the FCS Top 25 polls. In the Stats FCS Poll, Eastern Washington, UC Davis, Weber State, Montana State, and Montana are all ranked in the top 20 of the poll, with the Eagles, Aggies, and Wildcats holding down the 4 through 6 spots. In addition, 5 additional teams are receiving votes across both polls. Big Sky Root Sports Offensive Player of the Week honors went to Weber State's Josh Davis. UC Davis defensive back Devin and Montana State defensive end Bryce Sturck shared Defensive Player of the Week honors, while Montana's Jerry Louis McGee earned Special Teams Weekly honors. Remember, Root Sports is the official television partner of the Big Sky Conference. All 13 league teams will be in action this week on Saturday. The league has one Big Sky Missouri Valley Challenge Series game, and that's Montana State at Western Illinois, which can be seen on ESPN3. When we return, Montana State head coach Jeff Choate will join us on the show. Stay tuned to This Week in Big Sky Football.
Big Sky men's and women's basketball championships are headed to Boise. Buy your tickets now for a fun-filled week with basketball for all to enjoy. Purchase your tickets today by visiting BigSkyInBoise.com. That's BigSkyInBoise.com.
We would like to welcome Montana State head coach Jeff Choate to our show today. Coach, welcome and congrats on your win over Southeast Missouri State on Saturday.
Thank you, Carl. Appreciate it. It was a good program win.
Take us back through that game this past weekend. Your team posted 28 points in the third quarter to help get the win. What did you tell your players at halftime?
Yeah. I think a lot of times people think that those halftime talks can have a huge impact. I think really it was just more about settling our guys down, reminding them that when we executed well in the first quarter, we had control of the game, and most of the issues that we were having were self-inflicted. And if we could just control the controllables and approach each snap with the appropriate level of focus and commitment, that we were going to be fine. And kind of painted the picture for them. I said, here's what's going to happen. We're going to get a nice kickoff return from Logan, and we're going to get into amigos and run a couple plays. We're going to go down and score. Then the defense is going to get a stop. And once we put 2 on them in the third quarter, this is going to be pretty much over. And I looked pretty prophetic. Quite honestly, I didn't think it would go exactly to script, but it kind of did.
How important is it for you to get teams from the East Coast on your schedule and to get them at home?
Yeah, well, we're really fortunate here in that we have such a supportive fan base that it makes a lot of sense for us to bring in competitive opponents. Previously, we would play some Division II schools. And I know out west, there's just not a lot of options. You kind of got the RMAC in Division II. There's NAI schools that are played oftentimes by some other Big Sky opponents. But if you want to find a quality FCS opponent, you kind of got to look east. You got to look to the Missouri Valley, which, the Big Sky fortunately does have a scheduling agreement with, or you got to go to the OVC or even the Southland. And so I think it's important because I think that was not just a good win for the Montana State program. I think it was a good win for the Big Sky and our brand.
Let's talk a little bit about the Big Sky Missouri Valley Conference matchups that are scheduled this year. How important is that challenge series when it comes to highlighting tough games or getting some tougher opponents on your schedule?
Well, I think it's really important. I think, again, for some of the reasons I discussed earlier, just the lack of FCS opponents out west, we'd much rather go play a quality Missouri Valley school or Ohio Valley school than have to play a non-conference conference game like you saw Weber have to play against Cal Poly last week. And I don't know that really helps the Big Sky. If we go on the road and we have a quality loss to a ranked Missouri Valley opponent, that doesn't hurt us that much. If we go on the road and we get a win against a ranked Missouri Valley opponent, then that helps our league. And obviously our objective is to get as many Big Sky teams into the playoffs and get us into the tournament as possible. And I think that the scheduling agreement with the Missouri Valley allows us to have a platform to do that.
What is one of the best things that you enjoy about coaching at Montana State?
There's a lot of things that are good about living in Bozeman, Montana. I love the community. It's a beautiful place to live. The people are amazing. There's just something about good old-fashioned Montana folks, and And we've got a lot of those here in Bozeman, but really throughout the state. Our Bobcat fan base is tremendous. But it's not any different than anywhere else that I've worked. The thing I enjoy the most, honestly, is working with the boys and seeing their progress. And that's the most important thing. I don't have a job, and we don't have an athletic department if we don't have student athletes. And so we got to make sure that we always keep the main thing. And I really do enjoy working with these young men.
Montana State has one of the best fan bases in the FCS, and the university is currently in the planning stages for the Bobcat Athletic Complex. What's the positive impact that you think that will have on your recruiting and the city of Bozeman?
I think there's opportunities that all over the place. I mean, right now, our campus is going crazy. I mean, we've got, I think, almost 18,000 undergrads. I mean, it's amazing what's happened even in the 3 years that I've been here in terms of the growth of the Gallatin County, Bozeman, and our university community. And I think the logical next step is for us to reinvest in athletics. We've done a tremendous job of building on the academic side. And we've got a $55 million brand new engineering building that's state of the art as there is anywhere in the country. Our Jake Jabb School of Business is about 5 years old. We've got new dorms, new food services, and now it's time for us to invest in athletics. And I really commend our administration, our leadership by Wade Cruzado, our president, and Leon Costello, our athletic director, to have the vision to make that commitment to athletics and make sure that not only on the academic side, the students at Montana State have first-class facilities and opportunities, but also our student athletes on the athletic side.
Now, you really have a good defensive end in senior Bryce Stirk. Talk about his effect and what he brings to your defense.
Well, he's dynamic. I mean, I think he's got the ability to win most of his one-on-ones, and so that forces teams to either slide the protection to him or commit an extra offensive player to help that tackle. And when you've got a special player like that draws the attention of the offense and they have to game plan around to a certain degree, there's one less receiver in the route concept. It creates more opportunities and one-on-ones for other players that we have, like Derek Marks, like Troy Anderson, like Amandre Williams, Chase Benson, et cetera. And so anytime you've got a player that demands that much attention, it definitely creates opportunities for other guys on the field.
I'm talking about one other guy, Troy Anderson. He's been a multi-purpose player for you guys for a while, and he's back playing both sides of the ball this season. How did you land a guy like that?
Well, he's from Dillon, Montana. My wife's from Dillon, Montana, and Dillon's not a big place. And so, Troy's a special talent. I mean, he's a once-in-a-generation type of guy. I mean, I truly believe that he's one of the best pure football players I've ever had the good fortune to be around. And that includes guys like Shaq Thompson, Dante Fowler Jr., Haoliki Kaha, Doug Martin. All of those guys were first or second round draft picks. And so I think he's got that level of talent and ability. And we're in a place where we can showcase that on both sides of the ball. You're not going to see that very often at the Power 5 level. But here, we can put a plan in place that allows him to impact the game to his greatest extent by playing him on both sides.
Coach, thanks for joining us on our show today.
You're welcome. Have a good day, Carl.
Hey, yes, you too, and good luck in your game at Western Illinois this Saturday.
Appreciate it.
We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll be joined by sophomore defensive back Devin King from UC Davis.
Pluto TV is your one-stop shop for Big Sky action. The leading free internet television service in America will stream live sporting events including up to 700 football, men's and women's basketball, volleyball, and selected soccer, softball, and track and field events. Simply go to Pluto TV to find games from several different sports. Pluto TV is your one-stop shop for all Big Sky action.
Joining us this week on Big Sky Football is UC Davis sophomore Devin King. Devin, thanks for joining us on the show and congrats on the win this past Saturday.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Devin, you were named the Big Sky Root Sports Co-Defensive Player of the Week after making a heart-stopping play in the final seconds of the game to force a fumble and seal the 38-35 win for the Aggies. Can you kind of take us through that final play? What was going through your mind knowing that you needed to get that stop?
That final play was crazy. So they came out in bunch formation, and we checked, and I had a area one carry, so I carried the back corner. And then I saw the flat come out, and I just broke it and broke to the pylon and met him at the pylon. Put my head on the ball.
Now, and that was a great heads-up play to also get the fumble recovery, too. Is that something you were kind of keeping your eye open for when you made that hit, or was you were just looking to get the hit and make the stop at the goal line?
I was looking to get the hit to stop the goal line, but when I saw him reach the ball out, I just put my head on the ball.
Well, it was a great play nonetheless. We were all impressed. Against San Diego, you had a 12-yard interception during the game. Describe that
Yes,
pick
sir.
to us.
So so we were in cover 3, and I saw the seam, and it was an under, so I just helped out. I helped the safety out and just mid-playing it and broke on the ball.
Now that had to be
Squeezed it.
a great plane ride back for you guys. Were you guys able to get any sleep on the plane, or did you and your teammates just stay up the whole time celebrating that win?
We celebrated in the locker room, but then when we got to the plane, we settled in, and we getting prepared for next week now.
Your coach, Chappelle Brown, your position coach, was a standout at Colorado. What impact has he had on your game?
He impacted my game a lot. Just pushing me every day to run to the football and keep attacking the football. He emphasized falling back to the level of your training. It's like what you do in practice, you go do it in the game. So he just pushed me like every day in practice to have a game mentality, and just it translated over in the game.
Now you guys finally get a chance to play at home this season with a game versus Lehigh. What do you know about their program?
We know that they got a new coaching staff. A few new players, so it's not a lot of film on them. But we got 2 games on them, so we go look at that film and we go prepare.
You were a 3-sport letter winner in high school, competing in football, basketball, and track and field. How did you manage to have time for all of that?
Just working hard, in the classroom, finishing the classwork, and then just getting on the field, keeping me out of trouble, just playing sports, My coaches in high school, they worked with me too to play all sports, so it all worked out perfect.
Now, in high school, playing football, you were a running back and a cornerback. How did you decide which one was a good fit for you in college?
I feel like DB was a good fit. I like to come up and hit. I like to attack the ball, and that's working out perfect for me so far.
Now, going to school, you're going into human development. What are your plans when you're done with football? What do you want to do for your career?
I want to coach when I'm done with football. I've been looking into it. That's what I want to do, just give back what I know to people in my community and just coach.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. That's redshirt sophomore Devin King of UC Davis. The Aggies will host Lehigh this Saturday at 7 p.m. Pacific time. Thanks for joining us on the show, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Big Sky men's and women's basketball championships are headed to Boise. Buy your tickets now for a fun-filled week with basketball for all to enjoy. Purchase your tickets today by visiting BigSkyInBoise.com. That's BigSkyInBoise.com.
It's time for the one and only Craig Haley from Stats to join us on our show. How are you doing this week, Craig?
I'm doing well, Carl. Thanks for having me on.
Week 3 is here, and the games have been flying by. There's still time for an FCS team to get that upset of an FBS program. Southern Illinois defeated UMass 45-21 in an FBS upset. Did you have that game on your radar at all?
Well, unfortunately, I didn't. Perhaps I should have, because UMass is one of the worst FBS programs. It's been a little bit of a struggle for the FCS this year. 2 wins out of 58 chances. Certainly down from what everybody expected. Southern Illinois, they lost by 18 in week 1 to Southeast Missouri, which obviously just lost to Montana State. I didn't see it coming because the Salukis, they've struggled with depth. They were only 2-9 last year, but this is a game you got to give them credit. They had great balance offensively, and they really owned the game throughout.
Now let's go on to the polls. North Dakota State continues to hold that top spot in the polls, followed by James Madison. Do you see that changing in the near future?
North Dakota State has the best overall program in FCS, but they definitely face a difficult stretch of games upcoming, including this week at Delaware, and next week they're home against UC Davis. They can get picked off in this next month, especially with having a young quarterback, even though Trey Lance is off to a fabulous start. But I'll tell you what, even when the Bison lose, they really shouldn't drop too far in the polls. James Madison, number 2. After this week, they have 3 straight road games coming up, and they've lost 3. Last year, they lost 3 times on the road. I think a loss is possible there, too. Yeah, we could see some change. I mean, the top 8-9 teams are all capable of beating each other, and when one of them loses, somebody else will be ready to step up.
Now, the Big Sky not only has 5 teams ranked in the top 25 of the FCS Stats poll, but all 5 are in the top 20 with more receiving votes. How does the Big Sky stand right now as you rank conferences?
When I rank conferences, I had the Big Sky second to the Missouri Valley. That's how I had it moving into the season. The challenge series here could change things, but I do think with North Dakota State winning, national title year in and year out, and South Dakota State's always in that 3-4 range in the polls, I think it gives the Missouri Valley an edge, even though the overall depth in the top 25 does favor the Big Sky, and obviously they're led by last year's national runner-up in Eastern Washington. So it's close. It can change, but I'd go 1-2 Missouri Valley over Big Sky, and CA not too far behind at 3.
Now, sticking with the polls, out of the teams that are receiving votes, which one do you think is right on that cusp of breaking into the top 25?
Great question. I think this week's winner between Duquesne and Youngstown State has a chance to break in. Duquesne has been the NEC's most consistent program, and they had a great playoff win last year over Towson, and Youngstown is off to such an impressive start, and they had a national debut in the FCS kickoff game. Another game, maybe Eastern Kentucky at Indiana State. The winner there gets a big boost. But if I had to say one, I think the Duquesne-Youngstown winner probably can move in.
Let's kind of shift our focus now to that Montana State, Southeast Missouri State game. Share what you thought kind of worked for the Bobcats to be able to come away with the win.
Yeah, you outscore an opponent 28-0 in the third quarter. That tells a team it made the better halftime adjustments. But throughout the game, the tempo was different for Montana State than it was in week one. I mean, they fell behind in that first quarter at Texas Tech, and that didn't quite allow for them to run the ball as much as they did against Southeast Missouri. The Bobcats, their defense was a little more overpowering in the front seven. I mean, if you get a consistent pass rush, it's going to affect even a top opposing quarterback, and Southeast Missouri certainly has a good one. So I just think it was a different type of game and the kind that the Bobcats favor.
Now, we watched that UC Davis-San Diego game, and that was very exciting, especially the ending. Were you on the edge of your seat like the rest of us?
Yeah, mark it down. The play that Devin King made for UC Davis at the goal line, that'll wind up being one of the 5 best of the entire season. I mean, how did the San Diego running back not get the ball in the end zone? It was amazing, the play Devin made. I mean, just, thrilling for all. I mean, the way the game, they just traded scores throughout, and then Devin, made the stop that the Aggies needed when the game was on the line. I just thought it was fabulous.
Now, this year seems to be the year that the quarterbacks are really starting to shine. Do you think the running backs will get started going, or is this kind of that year where the quarterbacks are just going to be the stars of the team?
Well, it's been the quarterbacks for a while. I mean, I do love to see running backs doing well. I woke up Sunday morning and looked at the season stats across the nation, and, I was stunned to see there's no running back right now who's averaging at least 130 yards a game. I mean, early in the season, there's usually somebody who's averaging, 175, 180 yards. So to see nobody at 130 was eye-opening. I think it is a year of a quarterback. I mean, obviously in the Big Sky, you have, Eric Barrier, Jake Mayer, players like, Tom Flacco at Towson. I mean, he's an All-American. There's just too many outstanding quarterbacks for it not to keep being perhaps the year of the quarterback.
What kind of numbers does a player have to put up in the coming weeks to get on the Walter Payton, Buck Buchanan, and Jerry Rice Award watch lists when the midseasons lists come out?
Well, there's a lot of great players. And I'll tell you what, big numbers do draw attention, but I do think players have to be game changers first, make their team better. But you know what? I do think the numbers wind up reflecting that, individual stats, team stats, that certainly reflects on a player, and that's how you get on the watch list.
All right, what is your Big Sky game of the week that is the one to watch this week?
It seems like every week the game of the week it comes out of the Big Sky. I mean, I'd have to think, Eastern Washington going to Jacksonville State is the game of the week. And there's some doozies out there, Towson at Maine, North Dakota State coming east to Delaware. But, and throughout this decade, I mean, Eastern has the third most wins in the nation. Jacksonville State has the fourth most in the FCS. I just think it's great for the FCS as a whole when you have two power programs like this scheduling each other. So it's definitely the one I'm looking forward to.
All right. Well, that's Craig Haley of Stats. Thank you, Craig, for joining us. And as always, have a great day.
Okay. Enjoy the week, Carl. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Big Sky fans, make sure you download the Pluto TV app on your smartphone, tablet, or TV, and check out our new channel lineup in the 500s. Northern Arizona versus Western New Mexico, Northern Colorado at Sacramento State, Stephen F. Austin at Southern Utah, and Lehigh at UC Davis can all be watched on Pluto TV this week. Thanks again to Montana State head coach Jeff Choate, UC Davis defensive back Devin King, and FCS senior editor of Stats Craig Haley for joining us on the show.